In disgrace as investigators visit Adam Somyurek at home. The Minister for Women's strong response to the vile abuse caught on tape. Breaking news: a 15-year-old boy stabbed to death in a western suburbs car park. COVID closes a third Melbourne primary school as pubs plead for restrictions to ease further. Sam the tradie tells how he tackled a thief who robbed a woman at an ATM. And happy 100th bill. Lights and sirens to celebrate an Ambulance Victoria legend.
This is 9 News with Peter Hitchner.
Good evening. The Andrews government has plunged deeper into turmoil with the branch stacking scandal claiming a third minister. Marlene Kairouz quit in the wake of more explosive recordings following the sacking of Adam Somyurek and Robin Scott's resignation. State political reporter Andrew Lund.
Investigators paid an afternoon visit to Adam Somyurek's house after Labor's branch stacking scandal claimed another ministerial scalp.
A short while ago, Minister Marlene Kairouz resigned from the Cabinet.
Marlene Kairouz fell on her sword after The Age and 60 Minutes published more recordings of her apparently encouraging taxpayer-funded staff to engage in branch stacking to further her own political power base.
Because he's got 2,500 of our members that he has to go through. Yeah. And they drop one, we'll put in 10.
Today she issued a statement vowing to clear her name, saying the matters do not relate to any allegations of criminality or corruption.
The state's in recession and this rotten government is more interested in looking after themselves and their own political power than looking after Victorians.
Her departure followed yesterday's resignation of factional ally Robin Scott and the sacking of backroom power broker Adam Somyurek in the wake of damning recordings in which Mr Somyurek ridiculed Ms Kairouz's suburban development portfolio.
It's not a real portfolio she's got. She says I don't know what it means. It's not a real job.
I support the decisions that the two ministers who resigned made, and I am very firmly of the view that sacking Minister Somyurek yesterday was exactly the right thing to do.
None of the three attended Parliament today, sparing themselves the indignity of a walk to the backbench and leaving the Premier to take the heat.
The Premier appointed Adam Somyurek to the ministry not once but twice and has now sacked him twice. How can Victorians have any confidence in this Premier's judgment?
He was terminated as a minister, and he was yesterday the recipient of a lifetime ban from the Australian Labor Party.
Questions too about how deep the problem goes.
Are you confident that no other ministers are using taxpayer-funded staff to further their own political interests?
I am.
The matter has been referred to Victoria Police and IBAC, and as Parliamentary Services called in the locksmith at Ms Kairouz's Deer Park office, her allies were calling for another investigation.
The notion that there is an unknown COVID recording is a great concern on our democracy and on our sovereignty, and that needs to be investigated no less by the Australian Federal Police.
And while branch stacking may have been an open secret in the Labor Party, some are pleading ignorance.
When it comes to branch stacking, it's something that is I don't actually understand how you do it.
Make no mistake, losing 3 ministers in less than 2 days is extraordinary. To put it in context, the Andrews government lost 3 ministers to controversy in the 4 years of its last term in office. The Premier is now in full damage control mode. One of his tasks is to fill the void in his ministry. Parliamentary Secretary Danny Pearson has already been anointed to fill one of those vacancies. As for when the 3 former ministers will return to Parliament, that's unclear, but the winter break is due to start on Thursday night, and you can bet they are counting down the hours. Pete?
Andrew Lund reporting. Labor MP Gabrielle Williams, one of the key targets of Adam Somyurek's abuse, today broke her silence with dignified grace. The Minister for Women says she was deeply disturbed by the violent language he used. More from Brett McLeod.
Flanked by Cabinet colleagues, Gabrielle Williams made her first public comments about the way her ousted colleague was caught speaking about her.
Deeply shocking, it was deeply disturbing, and from a personal perspective, it was deeply offensive.
Fourth out of the ministry, that stupid bitch. Andrews goes.
Somyurek's subsequent apology couldn't neutralise the venom of his words.
It was deeply disturbing to me that the most violent and gendered language was reserved for me.
The Emergency Services Minister had strong language for those she felt had betrayed the Labor Party.
People talk about brand stacking. This is not what we've seen here. This is large-scale, deliberate way of abusing the Labor Party, taking advantage of Labor Party. They should get out of the party and they should get out of the caucus.
Prior to this week, Marlene K. Roos's most infamous moment was when, as Consumer Affairs Minister, she sparked a diplomatic spat with Ireland, warning about the dangers of fake tradies with Irish accents.
If anybody knocks on your door that has an Irish accent, automatically ask them to leave.
This morning, her Cabinet colleagues were hinting the same thing to her. Time to leave.
The Minister will probably need to reflect upon the revelations in today's media.
Although not everyone got the memo.
Minister Roos is doing a very good and important job, particularly in her consumer affairs, liquor and gaming portfolios.
Within an hour, Marlene K. Roos was no longer a minister. Former Labor leader Bill Shorten calling for a spring clean of the party's Victorian branch.
This is why people don't like politics, because they think it's about serving them, the politicians serving themselves.
Brett McLeod, 9 News.
2 high-profile former politicians will oversee Labor's Victorian branch while the National Executive investigates the corruption allegations. Political editor Chris Ullman's in Canberra. Chris, what else did party leaders decide?
Well, Peter, as you mentioned, former Premier Steve Bracks and former Federal Minister Jenny Macklin will be appointed as administrators, with the Victorian Branch Secretariat reporting to them while they conduct an investigation, with the initial report due by the end of July. The party's national executive will take over all pre-selections until 2023, which covers the next state and federal elections. Now, Daniel Andrews has written to the Federal Secretary Paul Erickson today saying, "I have no confidence in the integrity of any voting rolls that are produced for any internal elections in the Victorian branch. Accordingly, we must suspend those elections and begin a long and critical process of validating each and every member of the Labor Party in Victoria as genuine, consenting and self-funded." So, Pete, some are saying this is a much-needed circuit breaker. Others fear the bitterness from this scandal will linger for years to come.
Thank you, Chris Ullman in Canberra. To breaking news, and a 16-year-old boy has been stabbed to death in a brawl outside a shopping centre in Melbourne's west. Reid Butler has the latest. Reid, he was ambushed by a large